So I'm now going to be talking about interviewing. First, we're going to start talking a little bit about the idea of a dress code and why it matters so much. The thing about the dress code is each job is going to have a specific dress code, and it's associated with whatever culture of that specific job. It makes, if you are dressed properly, it makes the right impression at that first meeting. It shows you're prepared, shows you research the position that you want, and it shows that you're aware of the traditions and cultures of the job that you want. For example, take a look at this picture and ask yourself, who is the American Sign Language interpreter in the photo? If you guess the person on the left, you're correct. It's not just because she's signing, though. Take a look at the outfits of those two women in the photo. We have one on the left who's in just black and blue, and the one on the right, it has a very, very busy shirt. You see all those flowers on her shirt, right? It's a little bit hard to focus on her hands. It probably is. So the one on the left is wearing just two different colors so that while she's signing, the patient is able to understand what she's saying. If you also look at her hands, is she wearing any rings? No, she's not wearing any rings. She's not wearing any flashy nail polish. She, again, is wearing a very, normal looking shirt with no graphics on it, no flowers. So if the woman on the left was going into interview for a position as a American Sign Language interpreter, if she wore a whole bunch of flowers on her shirt, and if she had flashy nail polish and lots of rings on her hands, guess what's going to happen? Right away, they're going to think, okay, she really doesn't know the culture of this specific job. She doesn't know what this job entails. Let's take a moment to look at the woman standing beside her, the one wearing the flowers. So she's in scrubs, but do you think that's what she wore to the job interview for the job that she's currently at? Chances are that no. She probably was not in scrubs at the job interview. Scrubs are clothing that you wear on the job. But to interview, she probably wore maybe a nice shirt with a nice pair of dress pants and closed-toed shoes. Usually at any job interview you go to, it's going to be closed-toed shoes. Unless, of course, it's maybe a specific summer job. But even at different summer jobs, even as like a camp counselor, you're expected to wear closed-toed shoes. So I'm going to ask you a few questions and I want you to think about them. What is the dress code for the job that you want to pursue and why? How closely does the dress code for the job you want match what you should wear to an interview for that job? What traditions, dress code, work conditions, or other information do you already know about the job that you want to have? For those of you that already have the job you want, what lessons have you learned from interviewing for that position? Where have you bought your interview or work clothes? What suggestions do you have for shopping for interview clothing on a budget? How formal is too formal? Give examples if you know any. And what type of footwear is appropriate for an interview at the job that you are trying to pursue? So I'm going to go over some of my answers to some of these questions. So the dress code for my job, it depends on if I'm in class or I'm at a conference. So for myself, nice shirt, so a blouse of some sort with dress pants or a skirt or a dress. The power suit, usually I would say that that's good for like a conference. You could definitely wear it to class, but I don't think it's an everyday thing. How closely does the dress code for the job you want match what you would actually wear to the interview? For myself, it's pretty close. However, open-toed shoes I think are fine when you're actually in the classroom. But at the actual job interview, they say probably not. You probably won't want to wear open-toed shoes. Traditions for the job that I want as far as dress code, usually muted colors, usually a lot of blacks and maybe grays and navy blues. I think now teachers are wearing brighter colors. But let's say that I was teaching elementary school. I'd probably want to have colors that wouldn't be too distracting to the kids, because I know with myself, I think if someone was wearing really bright colors back then when I was a kid, I would have said, ooh, pretty colors, and I would not pay attention to what was being said. So buying interview and work clothes, you shouldn't have to break the bank in order to buy these clothes. Personally, I think the most expensive thing you should be wearing is your shoes, because maybe you want to make sure that you have a good pair of shoes. But everything else, consignment shops, Salvation Army, Walmart, different places that have good clothing for a fairly inexpensive price. But you want to make sure that it lasts though. So buy something that's going to last, but don't necessarily worry about the name brands or whether or not it was used before. I would highly recommend though, make sure that you wash the clothing when you buy it. So if you're getting it from a secondhand shop, make sure you wash it. How formal is too formal? I'll give you an example of that. So when I was younger, I applied for a job as a library assistant in Dighton. And I wore a nice sweater, but I had jeans on. So I think I was a bit too casual that day. However, as I was walking out of the job interview, another woman walked in looking as if she was going to go to the Kentucky Derby. So if you're aware of the Kentucky Derby, it is a horse race, and everybody wears really vibrant looking dresses with the little hat on, and she looked like she was going there instead of a job interview. I was wearing clothes that were too casual, but she was wearing clothing that was a bit too formal. As far as footwear you should wear, again, I believe that you should wear a pair of shoes that's comfortable, that you can walk in comfortably. So for example, my dress shoes that I wear every week when I teach, they are dress shoes. They look like dress shoes, but if you flip them over, they're sneakers. I got them from LL Bean. They're the most expensive clothing that I have, but I wear them every single day. So if you're going to spend a lot of money on something, make sure that you are actually going to be wearing it a lot, whether it's at the interview or out of the interview.